In 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be switching on my out of office for the whole month. I have been taking a month off in my business for 5 years now, and I'm going to use this episode today to unpack more about why I do it, why I think it's something to think about within your own business, whether it be a month or a different chunk of time off, and also some practical tips around how to make something like that happen. Because the biggest thing that I hear from people when I tell them that I take a month off is, in fact, what actually often happens is people go, I could never do that. I'm so jealous, but that's not possible for me. I'm just gonna let you in on a little secret here that it's probably easier than you'd expect. And I'm not necessarily saying that you have to take a month off, but I think any chunk of time off in your business is obviously important. And hopefully there's something in this that you can take away to start thinking about your future time off as well. Let me start by taking us back to 2019, because that is when I first decided to take a month off in my business. I decided in 2019 that I was going to do it, and then August of 2020 was my first ever actual month off. So already then, we're probably picking up that one of my tips is to think and plan far in advance, especially if it's as long or longer than a month, but we'll get to those in a second. In 2019, I was all in on my business, and I was that way for the first few years. Like, the business was my life. It was my baby. It was my obsession. And whilst it feels like still a very significant part of my life, back then, I really didn't know who I was or what I liked doing outside of work. Even if I did take time off, I don't really know what I like doing other than working. And whilst now I say that and think like, oh gosh, wow, there's so many things I could do that aren't work. Like, back then I really didn't feel connected to me as an individual. The context to the start of my business is that I quit school when I was 16, and then I fell into entrepreneurship, and it all just kind of snowballed and grew from there. So I didn't necessarily have, the years in university or the gap year where it sounds cringe, but maybe discover yourself or experiment or explore. Like, I just went straight into running a business and kind of threw myself into that. And I don't regret that. But as I said, in 2019, I started to feel like maybe I want to find out who I am outside of business. And also I was seeing the negative impact of being so closely attached. I was noticing that I was very attached to the business's success. If the business was doing well, I was good. But if the business wasn't doing so well, then I was really struggling with that. There was no disconnect between my identity and the business. And whilst I'm not going to sit here and pretend like now I'm totally disconnected, like, I'm still connected to my business emotionally. It still ties back to me, but it feels more separated for sure. And I think taking a month off is a big thing that helped me with that. I also in 2019 was implementing a few other kind of boundaries and starting to think about my workload in a more intentional way. So I decided to take my first month off August of 2020, obviously not knowing what 2020 was also going to hold. So I think it was even more needed that I have a month off then. And I've never stopped. It's not even really an intentional decision now. In fact, I almost sometimes forget to tell people that I need to tell that I'm taking a month off, because I just think everyone knows I do it and it's normal. And obviously that's not true. So it's so ingrained for me. I've done it for the last 5 years. I think I'm going to still do it for however long to come. The only edit actually, which I'm going to say out loud now, is I am actually getting married next year, not in August. And I might take my month off in that month instead. So that's going to be interesting. I'm going to have to change August off. I actually might do some work next August, which is wild. But I've taken a month off over August over these last few years, and it really has been amazing. Like, the things it has done for me and the business is huge. For me personally, it's definitely given me that space to find out what I like doing, explore, find some hobbies, see people, catch up with people, like just have some time to really build, my kind of personal life. It's also really helped me to rest and kind of connect back to me. I lived on my own for quite a while when I first moved out of my parents, and I love that. Like, I love being by myself. I love spending time with myself, and running a business is often, you on your own, but you're busy. You're not, hanging out with yourself necessarily. I know that might sound weird, but I enjoy that. And so it's been great for that. And I definitely notice when I come back into the business come September, I'm more rested, I'm more level-headed, I have a more healthy connection with my workload. In fact, a lot of the time when I come back in September, I'm not like, oh my gosh, I must work all the time. I'm quite kind of healthily disconnected. I'm quite kind of, I guess putting my business in context because I've had this space of time without it. And I definitely thought before I first took a month off that it would be bad for business but good for me. And I kind of was okay with that. But honestly, I can say it's good for business too. Like, people don't forget who you are in a month. If something takes years to build, it's not going to take a month for it to break down. If anything, people respond better when I'm gone and then come back because, you give them an opportunity to miss you. You give them a bit of breathing room. My clients don't, fire me because I take a month off. That's been okay. And I know that depending on the client work that you do, it can, be more or less complicated, but it's been amazing. The business has been strengthened by me leaving it for a month every year. And it's really helped me with my identity, my kind of, work-life blend with the business. And also it's really helped me to set up within the business the infrastructure that I need to take time off to ultimately make the business work for me. Time off in business is part of the reason that we do it, right? We work so hard for this freedom, for this flexibility. How often do we use it? It's one of the reasons I'm such a big advocate for taking a month off, is that why not? Like, you work so hard, you don't have set amount of holiday days. Why not take a month off? Why not just give yourself that real chunk of rest? And I think even if you don't want to take a month off, I really hope this episode is even just making you think about the time off you do take. Do you take off at least 28 days a year like the people in corporate just get, automatically? I know that there's seasons of business where we've got to be in the business and really working, but I do believe that rest matters, and rest is strategic, and rest is productive. It helps you work more. So thinking about how you plan your time off, do you look ahead and think, right, when am I going to be away from the business, and how do I make this a priority? Because just to be frank with you, I don't run my business just for the fulfillment, and the impact and the money. Like, I also run it because I want a good life. I want time off. I want to see friends and family. I want to explore, and a month off or any amount of time off, I think, is an amazing way to do that. I see people shut their businesses down, and most of the time people don't shut a business down because it's not working. They shut a business down because it's not working for them. And for me personally, taking a month off is a real clear example of what my business working for me looks like. I should say at this point, I have actually made a free worksheet which will walk you through the process of planning time off in your business. So if you're hearing this and you want to take a month off, 2 weeks off, 1 week off, 6 months off, and you're like, how do I make this happen? Head to the link in the show notes, download that worksheet. It's the exact process that I follow when I'm planning my month off, but also any other time off in my business. And it's a really great tool to make this go from like, oh, I'd love to take proper time off, to like, okay, I'm actually going to do it and I'm going to make it happen. So make sure to head to the link in the show notes wherever you're listening to access that free download. And I'm going to now share 3 kind of overall tips which, are in the worksheet a little bit, but are maybe more around your approach. Taking a month off feel easy. I say easy, I'm 5 years into doing this. It gets easier the more you do it. It's like any muscle. It feels hard the first time, and then you put in the reps, you get stronger at it. So without further ado, the first tip that I want to give you, I kind of mentioned it already, but it's so important, is planning in advance. I say to my friends and family a lot when they're trying to plan things, I am completely flexible 3 to 6 months in advance. I am pretty inflexible 1 to 2 months away. As a business owner, I don't need to ask for time off. If you need me to be free on a random Tuesday, or we're going away for a week, like, chances are I can do it if you give me enough notice. If anything, I am less flexible than an employed person in the short term, because I can't just cancel something if I've been contracted to do it. I can't get another team member to cover me. Like, I can't really be that flexible in the short term. So sometimes we think we can't take time off, but what we're really just thinking is, I can't take time off soon, but you probably could, if you planned in advance, take some time off in the future. A lot of the time we don't notice that we need time off until it gets to the point where we need it. So it's trying to think a bit longer term, and that's where for me just having August off as a constant is good, because I don't really have to think about it. It just happens. I don't have to decide. I don't have to, plan for it. It's just a non-negotiable for me every year. I should mention as well, I choose to take August off because it's a quiet time in my business. So there's a mini tip in that as well, of think about the timing in relation to what makes it easier. If I tried to take, September off, or January off, or May off, like, that would be harder. So think about the timing, plan in advance, think about how you make that timing, obviously work for you and be when you want to be off work, but also work for the business. Once you've planned it in advance and it's in your diary, that is so key. Put it in your diary. Don't just say, oh, wait and see what happens. Put it in your diary. If it's in your diary, you're going to see it, you're going to respect it, hopefully. And it's also going to help you with my second tip, which is to overly communicate. This is actually something that I now have to really make sure that I do, because as I said, it's almost such an obvious thing to me that I take August off that I can forget now to over communicate. But communication is everything. I want people to be sick and tired of hearing that I'm about to take a month off, because if they're sick and tired of it, it tells me that they know about it, and therefore it's not likely to cause issues for them or for the projects that we're sharing. I tend to, from about 4 months out, out from my month off, bring it up in all my conversations. If I'm speaking with a new client, if I'm talking to someone about a project, if I'm working with a new team member, I want people to know, so it's just part of our vocabulary. So it's not this shock a week before and I'm like, oh, I'm off by the way, but it's just something we're all aware of. I have it in my contracts. I have it overly communicated so that I'm not worrying that people don't know and it's going to cause issues, and also so that then everything I do can just be built around it. If you're taking off a longer period of time, like a month, what I find easiest is to almost just pretend that month doesn't exist. So if I'm working with a client, we can work over on my month off, we just take a pause. If I'm working on a project and I've got a deadline for September, well, that's a deadline for July. I need to get that done now. I just act like it doesn't really exist, and therefore all my projects kind of still work fine. Things can be paused, things can be dropped. Like, it's going to be okay. You can pick it back up when it is the right time. And then the final encouragement and kind of tip I want to share with you, I guess, is a little bit more around mindset, but stop thinking that you are the center of the universe and that you taking time off is going to be the worst thing ever. I say that with love, but I definitely used to feel like I kept the world turning and that if I took time off, then everything would, go wrong. And I just want to remind us all with a little bit of humility, nothing is that important. We are on a spinning rock. Nothing really matters. And hey, you can take time off. Your clients are going to be okay. Your customers are going to be okay. Your team are going to be okay. I say that because it will be okay if you plan it well and do it strategically. Download my worksheet to learn how to do that, right? It's not just okay if you just go, oh, I'm just off and I'm not going to plan for it and I'm just going to leave. Like, that probably will cause a few issues. They still won't stop the world turning. But if you plan for it, far in advance, if you overly communicate it, if you come up with a clear plan, then it's going to be okay. As I shared earlier, it's not just going to be okay, your business and you will be better for it. When I pick my business back up in September, I am always so glad for that month off. I definitely have seen over the last 5 years, my business growth, really increase, related to that month off, related to me being more rested. The context that I haven't given as well as to why I take a month off instead of like a few weeks off across the year is that I'm an all or nothing kind of person. I'm not good at, couple of days off here, week off there. I'm all in when I'm all in. And so for me, it works so well to just have this really chunky bit of rest. I really step out of the business. I really do switch off. I don't know if that's an unpopular thing to say, but I'm not spending my month off really thinking about work. I don't really miss my business when I'm taking my month off. I don't necessarily feel desperate to get back to it in September. And I think that's a really good thing. I think that's a sign that it's truly restful and I actually do disconnect. Does it take me, a good week to get to that place? Yes. Do I still have random business ideas that I just pop in my notes app? Absolutely. But I think rest is so helpful. You come back fresh energy, fresh ideas, a healthy separation. And as I said already, you also then build infrastructure in your business, infrastructure that helps you take time off. I now know if I needed time off at another time of the year, or if God forbid something were to happen and I suddenly need to be off work, I have the tools and the strategy to take time off. I have that because I've learned to take a whole month off, because I've built this process in my business. Building a business that doesn't allow you to leave it is not cool. It's not impressive. It doesn't mean you're really needed as a business owner. It just means that you've built something that doesn't really work for you. And I say that knowing that past me was really proud of the fact that I didn't really take time off. But current me has learned those lessons. And don't get me wrong, my business doesn't fully run without me over that month. My business kind of takes a pause, and that's fine. And the business is good for it when I pick it back up. So whether you are looking to take a month off or a couple of weeks off, or you've never taken time off before and you just want to think about how you start introducing this, I really hope that there's been some things in this episode that have been valuable for you. As I've said, do go and download that free worksheet that I've created. It's a really practical tool to help you go through the steps, planning time off, thinking about what you want from it, thinking about how to do it strategically so that it's as easeful as possible, as least disruptive as possible, and ultimately gives you what you want, which is that time off for whatever your individual reasons might be. If you have any other questions about taking a month off, let me know. Be more than happy to create some more videos around it, but I'm at the final stretch. I've got 2 weeks to go. I'm very excited. I'm not going to lie, at this point in June, July, I'm always feeling a little bit fatigued and ready for the month off. I can definitely tell that I am almost about to take a really good break. So I'm very excited for that. But don't worry, there'll be a couple more episodes before I disappear for the summer. So make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're tuning into this, and I'll be back in your ears next Tuesday. P.S. The link for the free worksheet is in the show notes. So if you're on YouTube, go to the description, Spotify or iTunes, just go to the show notes and it will be linked in there. Happy downloading.